We are The Meltdown, here with yet another retro trailer reaction. This series looking to reintroduce and put the spotlight on some notable movies from previous years. All of the choices featured within this series have been hand-selected by our Meltdown crew. Some of these selections include some of us completing first-time watches, and some include those timeless classics that we may have all seen numerous times. Join us throughout all of Season 1 for a look at the retro trailers and the discussions that follow. Today's entry is 2000's Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, starring George Clooney, Tim Blake Nelson, and John Turturro. It is directed by filmmakers Joel and Ethan Coen, known for films like Raising Arizona, Miller's Crossing, Fargo, The Big Lebowski, and No Country for Old Men. The film is set in rural Mississippi in 1937, and it follows three escaped convicts searching for hidden treasure while a sheriff relentlessly pursues them. Its story is a modern satire which, while incorporating social features of the American South, is loosely based on Homer's epic Greek poem, The Odyssey. Joel Coen revealed to IndieWire while remarking that it wasn't always intended to be a loose adaptation of Homer, quote, "It didn't start with that idea. It started as a three saps on the run kind of movie, and then at a certain point we looked at each other and said, you know, they're trying to get home. Let's just say this is the Odyssey." Adding, quote, "We were thinking of it more as the Wizard of Oz. We wanted the tagline on the movie to be, there's no place like home." The title of the film is a reference to the 1941 Preston Sturges film Sullivan's Travels, in which a director wants to film Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, which would have been based off a fictitious book about the Great Depression. So with that, let me introduce our panel. I am Meltdown host Tim Melton. That is my co-host, John Lunsford.
My hair. Sorry.
It's all good. That is our producer, Tyler Johns, back in the corner.
Yep. I watched it.
And then we have finally rock star, beloved Meltdown contributor, UC Daily on the next round.
I'm debating about shaving my legs.
Okay. John, this film was your selection. Why did you pick 2000's Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, starring George Clooney, Tim Blake Nelson, and John Turturro?
This movie is something that my dad and I have watched a lot together. It's probably the movie we've watched the most together. It's a retelling of a story that I had to read back in the day with the Odyssey, not all of it, but part of it, because it's a very long story. But it is just a movie that is a movie about the simpler times in the South, and that can go a lot of ways, and it shows the both negative and positive of back in the day in the South. But it's such a simple movie with so many one-liners and so many things to call back to, with such good acting from a director duo with the Coens that have done so many classic movies, that everything about this just adds up to me, and I'm the only one in the room apparently to say that this is a classic movie that I always go back to time and time again. It has great rewatchability, and it's just a good old-fashioned American movie.
Without any further hesitation and that setup from John, let's now see the retro trailer for Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? From the year 2000.
Hello, sugar. How's my little girl?
He ain't our daddy.
I am the only daddy you got. I am the damn paterfamilias.
Now Mama's got a new beau.
Vernon here's got a job. Vernon's got prospects. He's bona fide. What are you?
You can't marry him.
I can, I am, and I will.
This gentleman bothering you?
Well, you can't marry my wife.
And stay out of the Woolworth.
To get back to his wife and kids, Ulysses Everett McGill will do anything.
Hey, any boy, Smitty's.
But he's about to get off on the wrong track.
Who elected you leader of this outfit?
Well, Pete, I figured it should be the one with the capacity for abstract thought. Boys, if you just stick with me. Man, we're in a tight spot. Believe me, I got a plan. And I can get my wife back and we can get out of here.
Okay, I'm with you fellas.
Ain't you gonna introduce us, Pete?
I feel
seen them first.
Them sirens loved him up and turned him into a horny toad.
You two are just dumber than a bag of hammers. Allow me to introduce myself. Big Dan, Turturro.
Hey, what line of work you in, George?
Come and get me, Captain!
Oh, George, not the livestock.
Wait a minute. Since we've been following your lead, we got nothing but trouble.
You have eluded me for the last time.
I got the answers. I'm bona fide.
Maybe your friends think I'm just a stranger. My face you never see no more. But there is one wrong.
Son, you're gonna go far.
I'll meet you on God's golden shore.
You ever been with a woman?
I gotta get the family farm back before I can start thinking about that.
Out of all the retro trailer reactions we've done, that may be the best trailer because hot damn, it's the Soggy Bottom Boys, John. Right there in the trailer. From this point on, we'll be including spoilers for Oh Brother, Where Art Thou in our discussion points. So if you'd like to watch the movie first and come back to us, feel free to pause the video now. As we saw in parts of the trailer, Ulysses Everett McGill is having difficulty adjusting to his hard labor sentence in Mississippi. He scams his way off the chain gang with simple Delmar and maladjusted Pete. Then the trio sets out to pursue freedom and the promise of a fortune in buried treasure. With nothing to lose and still in shackles, their hasty run takes them on an incredible journey of awesome experiences and colorful characters. We're going to begin this with Rockstar. What is your take on Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Took me 3 full viewings to finish it. I asked my wife if she had seen it, and she said, yeah, I did not like it. The whole movie is a fever dream.
Yeah.
It is. The whole movie, and I was like, that is so right. It is. It's a fever dream. Can I do my likes and dislikes?
Please.
Loves. I love the names. Pete Hogwallop, Delmar, Big Dan, Pappy O'Daniel, Vernon T. Waldrop. I love the names.
And that's about it.
No, it's just, is it a musical? Is it, it's not awful. It's just, it is a fever dream. It's just like it's almost like we got to the part, we're doing spoilers, right?
Yep. We
got to the part where, we're here to do the buried treasure. Like, well, okay, there's no buried treasure. So now we got to think of another story. All right, well, I got to get a ring for my wife because she's going for another guy because she's a suitor who's bona fide. I kind of like that. Loved John Goodman. Thought he should be in it more. I had a question with Tyler. I don't know if it's appropriate or not. Sheriff Cooley.
Yeah. Was that the question?
What's his deal?
What's his, like, he's just this intimidating person that has hardly any lines.
He's supposed to be a mix of Poseidon from the Odyssey and the devil, too.
Okay. Well, he has no lines. There's a ton of people.
But what's his purpose in, like,
he's chasing
universe?
after him. They're escaped convicts. He's the person chasing after him.
He is the sheriff.
All right.
Okay.
So
I mean,
the other
I don't
question.
know what else you want from him.
John, there's a lot of criticisms I have about this movie, but that one seems pretty. That's a softball.
Okay, I got a couple more. Vision.
What was Holly Hunter supposed to be his wife?
Yeah.
I mean,
not anymore.
What?
He got hit by a train. Vision. So far, there's 2 blind guys. Stephen Root loved his character, him singing off key when they're recording. Loved that.
That's funny.
John Good with an eye patch. Sheriff Cooley with the weird sunglasses that block out for skiing or whatever, sun for all angles. The blind guy on the cart. There's a lot of vision issues. And then my uncomfortable question to Tyler, and maybe you guys can answer it. 3 or 4 separate occasions, they call them 3 Negroes. Different people at different times. The Ku Klux Klan guy, the Pappy guy, the Stokes, whatever his name is, he called them 3 Negroes through the Confederate flag or whatever. And then at the beginning, Stephen Root, I know he's blind, but he said like 3 Negroes. And then before that, there was 3 Negroes with another guy. Why?
Because they say when they go to record the music, he said...
But he's blind. I understand.
He said, we don't do that kind of music. And they're like, well... Or he's like, do you do that kind of music? Well, we are. So he's blind, so they get away with it. And the music they do is more kind of jamming, which is typically seen as black music back then. Then when you get to the KKK rally, they're covered. They put like shoe polish over their face to help break Pete out, so they kind of blend in to the night. So then ultimately...
So there's an undertone to that too that it's not really explainable. And then
did I mention the film is set in rural Mississippi in 1937?
I understand what in the rural Mississippi, do people break out in song all the time and steal cars?
They do in this movie.
And the theater scene, I had to look this up. Where do not
seek the treasure.
Do not seek the treasure. We thought you was a toad. Do not. I'm looking around going, what the hell's going on?
They're in theater. They're trying to be quiet.
But they talking. Does that Tim? Did you see?
They're supposed to both kind of be a little slow to begin with.
Only when they whisper, like, "No, Pete's not that slow." I understand Delmar. Love Delmar. Did not like George Clooney in this role. I wish it was given to somebody else. I think I would like the movie more if it wasn't George Clooney. I don't have a specific reason. I don't dislike George Clooney, but I thought somebody else in that role would have been great.
Tyler, you also witnessed this film for the very first time. What did you think of "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," as you look like someone who's been through quite an experience?
You bona fide?
I don't think I'm bona fide. It took me some effort to get through this one, and that's coming from someone who likes Greek mythology, has read the Odyssey. I liked the idea of taking that story and putting it in the Old South, but after watching it, I don't know if they should have.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you, spoiler alert, the next time Tyler puts a horror movie in the bucket or it gets picked out of the bucket or whatever, John is going to eviscerate it. He's going to remember this day.
I'm going to be 84 years old. Hey, I'm going to be 82.
Is there anything else you have on "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou"?
I liked it more than Little Shop of Horrors.
Wow.
But I don't know. There were some funny moments in Little Shop of Horrors.
There's funny moments in this, but it's just
I like.
So every John pick is just.
Do they sing on Skid Row? It's weird. I don't think they normally.
Also,
do that.
can I have another question? 3 separate times they're lured into the woods. What's the with the sirens and the baptisms and the Ku Klux Klan? Is there anything in that where like you just hear people singing like, "What is that?" and you 3 separate times in the movie that happens?
So you think that these characters are dumb, which I think John is not going to argue. They're meant to be simpletons.
But it's odd that 3 separate times and totally different reasons they have to go into the woods and find people singing.
I just wonder if you're trying to make a logic argument when you should be making a taste argument, that you just don't like it. Compared to
it's just scrambled. There's nothing like it's just I love Raising Arizona. That's a hard movie to explain. I guess that's the Coen brothers, but it's just hard to follow. It is a fever dream. Like where are we? Like what's going on now? The John Goodman, they just random, almost like a cameo.
I just think anytime the question is why are these characters so dumb, it's like that's the point of the movie.
I'm not saying why they're dumb. I'm just saying what is the point of them being lured into the woods by music 3 separate times? I would think one time would be enough. It has nothing to do with them being dumb or smart.
Do you like Three Stooges humor? Is that something you like?
Yes.
Then I'm surprised you don't like
that's
this more.
Exactly what this movie is.
Because I don't like Three Stooges humor, which is like one of my dislikes in the movies. It feels very Three Stooges like.
Yeah,
it definitely is.
It's just not my cup of tea of what I actually like. There are some things I really like about this: the music, the soundtrack.
That is good. That is good.
It's very, very good. Even though "Man of Constant Sorrow" sounds nothing like George Clooney, but it's still.
Did they say he like rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed?
All the people have people singing for them, except Delmar when he sings in the jailhouse now. That's actually him.
Oh, John Turturro's not yodeling in that one.
It's not
scene?
actually John Turturro yodeling.
I think there's great chemistry within the cast. I think they all are having a good time making this movie, and I think that comes across on the screen. Whether you're enjoying it as an audience member or not, you can tell that they're having a fun time on the screen.
See, I thought some of the dialogue was fun, and those were the aspects I did like about the movie. But
the relationship between Pappy and his son, I love that.
That was
I
good
absolutely
too.
loved. Like those are the best scenes with Pappy and his son.
But like Rockstar, I didn't like George Clooney in this, and I can't give you a reason why. I just didn't like him.
Did it feel like he didn't belong in this movie in your opinion? It felt like
it
a miscast?
felt off.
But I don't know who I would use to replace him.
Okay.
Exactly.
Chris Pratt probably.
If it was now,
Yeah.
Big Dan, John Goodman, anytime he's in a supporting role especially, he adds so much to every movie he's in. The fact that he's playing a character named Dan when he was on Roseanne playing Dan Connor, and the fact that he was like, yeah, I'm cool with playing another Dan. I guess that wasn't really much of an issue back in the year 2000. The fact that Holly Hunter didn't have to change her voice, I actually really find amusing.
And she was used too little. I would like to have more in her in the film.
She was great in every scene she was in. The flooding scene at the end of the movie somehow does not look dated to me. Like, it really looks good.
No, I would agree with that.
Like, I've watched it again over and over just to be like, why does this not look as dated as it should in the year 2000 with digital effects and I'm surprised how well that's held up. There are very few movies that make me crave moonshine, but this is one of them.
What about Sirens?
Just don't drink that moonshine specifically.
Right. I want a big old pint of Max's moonshine watching this film. Things I'm not wild about, just the story, the turns, the adventure. I couldn't get invested in that. And if you can't get invested in what these characters are going for, then that makes it a really tough watch. I hate Three Stooges humor, and that's what this entailed a lot. I didn't find it to be very relatable. I think that younger audiences, if you were to show them this movie today, they would be checked out and on their phone within 30 seconds. I mean, it's just not... Well, I mean, Tyler's a part of that generation, but John is saying you got to respect the classics, and this is now, a classic in his household for sure.
And it came out a quarter of a century ago where the world was completely different.
Absolutely. But I think it's a tough watch for sure. It's just not a fun thing to ingest for me personally. But John, with it being your choice, you get the final word on the impact of this film, as I believe some of the criticisms today have been slightly unfair, but a lot of them are aligned with us three not getting nearly as much enjoyment out of this film as you get.
And that's fine. I don't get enjoyment out of the thing like y'all got enjoyment out of that. This movie, this may be a weird comparison, but this movie makes the state of Mississippi look like Middle Earth from the journey standpoint of they journey forever through Mississippi, but it's back in the day where they pretty much had to walk most of it. I mean, they got in a car a couple of times, but they pretty much had to walk most of it, that they're going on a journey from, hey, we broke out from our chain gang. We're trying to get to a point to get a ring, by the way, at the end.
Oh, wow.
That this came out right when Lord of the Rings came out too. So it's almost like it kind of has a Lord of the Rings feel to it, but a deep South back in the day Lord of the Rings as opposed to
instead of hobos, it's hillbillies.
Instead of hobbits.
It's hobos. What did I say? Hobos.
It's okay.
It actually is
hobos.
It is
hobos. I was like, kind of both, but
I took hobbits and Frodo and put it into one and called them hobos. Oh, not my best work.
I like the way they mix characters in from the Odyssey. John Goodman being the Cyclops, the Sirens being the girls singing in the water, George Clooney being Odysseus, which Ulysses Everett McGill. Ulysses is Odysseus in Roman.
Oh, obviously.
It's a real think piece.
Yeah.
Oh, brother, where art thou? It's a real think piece.
Crotch shots.
His ex-wife being like Penelope, because that's the whole thing. It's his wife and kid. In the Odyssey think he's dead because he's been gone off to war so long. The sheriff's kind of like Poseidon, which is why the water comes in the end. He's also kind of representing the devil. I like the themes of religion in it as well. Lots of religion from the getting saved, from Tommy selling his soul to the devil, the KKK having religious, overtones to it as well. John Goodman being a Bible salesman, even though ultimately he's, basically a con man.
Yep.
I also love when y'all mentioned liking Pappy. I like him and Homer Stokes and kind of the backdrop of the governor race and where the
we need to get a little person too.
The state of the state of Mississippi is, and the Deep South in general back then, where that was, because one is a Grand Dragon in the KKK and the other is, the current governor trying to do things on the up and up, and also not afraid to be funny in a comic, but also not afraid to be ruthless either. And all of Pappy's like assistants and everything are hysterical throughout the entire movie.
The dance at the end with the Soggy Bottom Boys.
Mm-hmm. To me, like, and Pappy O'Daniel reminds me of my dad too. The way he dances on stage, the way he acts, like if he needs to get something done, he's going to get it done, but he's also going to be kind of goofy about doing it too. So I see a lot of my dad in that. So watching it with my dad a lot, I definitely get that. The music in it is incredible. I'm only kind of so on folk music in general, but there's multiple Coen brothers movies that may or may not be in the bucket that have to do strictly with folk music. Oh
God,
I hate when he spoils the bucket choices. But anyway, go ahead.
They've done multiple movies, and I haven't put all my favorite Coen brother movies in there, but it's simple. The music, when you hear the music, reminds you of back in the day when you listen to music. The story reminds me of back when I was in school and taking Greek mythology classes in college, which I enjoy taking. For me, the only movie I had seen George Clooney in before this was Batman and Robin, which is not one to remember fondly.
All right, now it's personal.
So, but this isn't a shot at Batman necessarily. It's just that's not him. Like when you think Batman, you think Michael Keaton of old Batman. I don't think Val Kilmer. I don't think George Clooney. I think Michael Keaton, and that was the role.
The Bat credit card
they had to take over. No. I use it everywhere. That, and then you move to Christian Bale. I skip right over Val Kilmer and George Clooney for the most part. But this and Ocean's 11 came out back to back, where then that is what established George Clooney. And I love George Clooney in this role. I think it shows George Clooney's versatility in this role, that he plays a very certain character in a lot of things. And it's more of a serious character, and he's a funny guy in this one. I really like George Clooney in this role as opposed to disliking him. It was kind of my first introduction to John Turturro as well. I've gone back and watched stuff he's done, like more Coen Brothers stuff, like The Big Lebowski. Rounders came out a few years before this. I've gone back and watched stuff.
He was great in The Night Of, that HBO limited series. I love it.
I've only made it halfway through, but I've only watched it because you've talked about it a lot. Just in the last couple of years, he did The Batman, which is really good, and did Severance, which is really good. So 2 really good things. So he's still very active, and he was way more active before George Clooney was.
John Turturro in a better Batman movie than George Clooney.
You are correct. And then Tim Blake Nelson, I didn't know anything about him. And honestly, I feel like if you look through his filmography, he's had a lot of bit roles and some decent.
He was great. He was the highlight of the film for me.
I think it was the highlight of the film for me too. He's actually coming back in Captain America because he was in the Ed Norton Hulk, and so they're bringing back a lot of those characters in this. So he's actually going to keep going in the MCU. I liked him in the Watchmen TV show. He's one of the main characters in that. I know a lot of people didn't really like that compared to the movie. He's in Dune 2, but got cut out. So he's done a lot of stuff, but this is the one role I always think, and I always think of him as like a very simple person, no matter what role he does moving forward, because that's my first. George Clooney's so big. John Turturro even is so big, but to him, he's not near as big as those two. So I think of this role for him, and I don't necessarily think of that for the other two. I would have the few criticisms of this movie I do have. I would have liked to have seen more from Tommy. I feel like he appears and then disappears and then randomly appears again at the KKK rally, and it's like, oh, where's Tommy been this whole time? You kind of forget about it. Then they quickly make a comment of like they leave him behind when their car gets found and they run off on their own. But it's like, well, then what happened to him? I mean, it clearly didn't work out for him.
Sold his soul to play the guitar, and then they don't really. It's just
then they use him again at the.
He just appears
at the end.
He's kind of the Doug.
And when he came in the car, and when he came in the car with him the first time we're hitchhiking, I was like, "Is he blind?" Because he wasn't looking at anybody, and I was like, "Is he blind too?" Like there's so much vision things in this movie.
I love the line when he gets in. He's like, "Yeah, I just sold my soul to the devil so I can play the guitar." And Delmar and Peter are like, "Well, we just got saved." And George Clooney's like, "Well, I guess I'm the only one that remains unaffiliated." Like, I thought the way he kind of played in between all of that while trying to be like, "Well, I'm actually the right one because I'm not paying attention to any of this stuff," was really funny. And then I didn't like at the end that basically Pete and Delmar just disappear at the end, and it's just George Clooney going on with the family. Now, I like the resolution of that, and then it's like, oh, that's not even my ring, and it kind of leads to more turmoil after that, but we do kind of leave Pete and Delmar behind just because he found his ring, so the quest is over, so bye. That I would have rather have them have died, gone back to jail, had a happy ending, and they were walking along with him at the end, that we don't really get a resolution with that. But overall, it's a very small thing for a movie that was really good, that had really good music, that had really good one-liners in it, that I like the way it was shot in that kind of sepia tone. That I think it's just a fun movie to watch, and it's a fun odyssey to watch the whole story play out, and I just really, really enjoyed it.
Work on the script began in December of 1997. It was at least half written by May of 1998. Joel Coen revealed in a 2000 interview with the Los Angeles Times that he traveled to Phoenix to offer the lead role to George Clooney, where Clooney agreed to do the role immediately without reading the script. He stated that he liked even the Coens' least successful films. It was filmed near locations in Canton, Mississippi, and Florence, South Carolina in the summer of 1999. As John mentioned, the Coens used digital color correction. It was one of the first films to extensively use this tool to give the film a sepia tinted look after filming locations included way too much green. They didn't want that much green on the final product. They worked with arguably the greatest cinematographer of all time,
Roger Deakins.
Roger Deakins
was nominated for an Oscar for it too, I think.
He was nominated for an Oscar. He's known for The Shawshank Redemption, Fargo, A Beautiful Mind, Skyfall, Prisoner, Sicario, and for Blade Runner 2049 and 1917, he won an Oscar for both of those films. The film premiered at the Cannes Film Festival on May 13th of 2000 and in the United States on December 22nd of 2000. It grossed $71.8 million worldwide on a $26 million budget. These are the type of movies that don't get made anymore. These are the type of movies that do not have theatrical runs anymore. These are the types of movies that cannot be successful in 2024 when they could be in the year 2000. It went on to be nominated at the Academy Awards for Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Cinematography, with George Clooney winning Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Comedy or Musical at the Golden Globes. This one was the most impressive one to me, Rockstar. The Oh Brother, Where Art Thou soundtrack won Best Album of the Year at the Grammys in 2002.
I bet some people were pissed, but it is great music. That is the only. But it's just like, is it a musical? But no, I love the Man of Constant Sorrow. I love that kind of stuff, and that's what I remember when you said that. I always think of everybody always talked about the soundtrack to that film. They're like, surprisingly, this is going to be really good. I really enjoy it. So I don't have a problem with that, but I'm sure some artists had a problem with the.
Now it was a lot of Grammy. Decent named artists. Like I know Emmylou Harris did, I think 2 songs for it. Alison Krauss was on it. So it had a lot of like country artists.
They all became bigger after this movie.
Right. The guy that did George Clooney's voice, only thing I remember he did that Avicii song, Hey Brother, that was huge for a while. He was the singer in that too. So like they all did stuff that was big. Now most of it coming after this, but it wasn't like it was just random people. You sing a little better than George Clooney, so we'll get you to do it. It was like, oh, you're so-and-so from so-and-so band, or you're so-and-so country singer that I understand why, as opposed to just random people, it was legit artists. So maybe that's why people wouldn't get quite as mad about it, because it was more of like a compilation of a bunch of decent named artists at that point.
And after the success of the film, the musicians were able to get together for a DVD collaboration where they were able to distribute the music in a way that would put more money in their pockets. And the music continues to live on. Everyone hears that song and immediately, for the most part, knows where it's from, unless they're just completely averse to pop culture. But that song has almost outlived the music in some ways.
Correct.
So that's what you need to know about.
My last comment, too, you mentioned you can't make movies like this anymore.
Yeah.
That's what also reminds me of a simpler time of movies. What's the last really great Coen Brothers movie y'all saw?
It's been a hot minute.
Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
I mean, No Country for Old Men for me.
No Country for Old Men.
2007.
I'm not a Coen Brothers fan.
I mean, that was 14 years ago. Since then, there's one that may or may not be in the bucket that was 11 years ago. I really like Tragedy of Macbeth.
Let's see.
You have no idea what it is, Tyler. I don't think you have any idea what it is. The Tragedy of Macbeth was good. That was just Joel. It was an Apple movie that Denzel played Macbeth, but it was Macbeth, so it's not like an original story
Brown loved
necessarily.
that movie, didn't he?
He hated that movie. But I mean, there's really nothing. I mean, they did Hail Caesar that I feel like crashed and burned
with George Clooney.
Yeah, had a ton of people in it.
I was mentioning this to John before we started recording. The Coen brothers are about to be in their 70s.
Wow.
Doesn't that seem weird? That seems weird to me.
I mean, Raising Arizona was the year I was born, 1987. So I mean, it's been doing it for a while, but
still,
that's the thing. Think about it. They had a run there. Fargo, Big Lebowski, Our Brother, Where Art Thou, No Country for Old Men. A few years after that, Burn After Reading, True Grit, and then they just fell off a cliff after that. As far as like
volume,
they did a few things, but it's stuff nobody really cares about. That either flopped financially, critically, whatever. And everybody regards the Coen brothers as like really, really good, but you just don't get their movies anymore, because I'll be honest, if the Coen brothers put a movie in theaters, they did, by the way, they did this year.
They did Drive Away Dolls.
Did anybody realize that? No, nobody. The average person has zero idea there's another movie out there.
It was just one of them.
It was just Ethan, but they all produced and everything still.
Sure.
But he's the only one that directed it. But like, nobody knows, and these random movies appear. And Drive Away Dolls is actually the first of a trilogy that's going to come out that nobody's going to go see.
No.
So I'm just.
Is it really?
Yeah. So
do not
we'll see.
Steal the treasure.
This is a movie that popped on DVD release and on the rental store shelves, but is a movie that no longer gets produced. That's what you need to know about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Is this a movie you appreciate all these years later? Let us know in the comment section below, and make sure you take a look, John, at our title sponsor. That's MyBookie.
Go to mybookie.ag. Use promo code next round. See it right there in the corner. MyBookie.ag. Bet in the sportsbook, bet in the casino, play the slots, bet in the live casino as well with real live dealers. Go there. Use promo code next round. Get a first deposit bonus on us.
You guys all want to sing together to end this?
I do not.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. I guess I will just remain a man in constant sorrow.
Oh, God.
Sorry.